I start getting angry, and then my brain starts going off with all of this information for why I should be angry. Once that hamster wheel starts rolling, like it is like a infinite loop. It can't stop. Like all of those reasons for why I should be frustrated, they just continue to grow and to grow. And that's where I leave the building. That's where I kind of disappear, because it's the logical. I disappear through logic. This absolutely makes no freaking sense, and I need to change this. This is not okay, blah, blah, blah. And then my anger gets justified, which continues to ramp up, and then I've left the building. I've exited stage right. And so that can look very differently. For you, it's, talk about your version?
Well, I tend to default to sadness. However, with you, it can go a little bit either way. You were the first time in my life I've experienced the level of anger that I sometimes experience.
I'm going to call that growth. You know what I'm saying? Because what I've seen has been that you tend to go soft. You tend to get quiet.
I withdraw.
You withdraw, right? I go, oh, and you go.
Yeah, you get big and I get small. I shrink and you get larger. Yeah.
And so, there are two sides of the same coin, of withdrawing emotionally to stepping out. And so,
say more on that. The two sides of the same coin a little bit. I feel like we touched on this a little bit, like the grandiose and stuff conversation, but just in this example, I would love to hear you say more about how it's two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, anger and sadness, two sides of the same coin. One is projected outward and one is projected inwards.
Yeah.
Essentially, I have a problem, a challenge that I'm facing that I don't know what to do with it. And probably if I dig deep underneath there's shame in it. There's anger, there's sadness, but essentially when we look at those emotions, one is projecting it outwards, one is projecting it inwards, right? And so we talked about this before, as the sadness is connecting with shame, right? I'm turning it inwards, and the anger with grandiosity, projecting it out towards somebody else. And both are protection mechanisms, right? As a young boy, I learned to get big, and that would keep me safe. If I were to shrink down, that was not going to create safety for me. That was going to create the opportunity for somebody to take advantage of me, to somebody to hurt me. And so I learned that in order to keep myself safe when I felt unsafe, I had to get big. And even middle school me, my voice used to crack, and I literally had this, and to this day, I still use what we refer to as the wall of words. And I remember in middle school, I was in a school that was, it was on the other side of the tracks. We had a very mixed school, and there were some kids there that, I was really honestly very afraid of. And what I would do, my way of keeping myself safe, is if somebody started to fight with me, I'd just start getting big and and I would start acting out. And the next thing you know, there'd be a whole crowd. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to hold me back, do this, And so by the time, like he's going, come on, let's fight. And I'm like, and by the time the fight was about to happen, suddenly the whole school was there and the teachers were there, and they pulled me in the office and they're like, you can't do that. And I was like, I was about to get my butt whooped. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
better to use your words than your fists.
I'm happy that I ended up in the office, because that kid was going to kick my ass. Like, let's be honest. But that wall of words kept me safe. Yeah. Getting big, getting large, getting loud. That was my way of keeping myself safe in what I perceived was an unsafe world. That was what my nervous system does. We talk about the fight, flight, freeze, and appease. These are our autonomic nervous system taking over when we sense danger. Our lizard brain comes online and says, hey, we got to keep you safe. This whole rational, empathetic, we got no time for that. You are in mortal danger. The reality is that we're not in mortal danger in our relationships, but my nervous system thinks that I am. That's what we're really talking about when we talk about rewiring the nervous system, is convincing my nervous system that I'm not in danger. And I can't tell it. I can't speak to it in that moment. When it starts firing, you can't be like, nah, dude, you're wrong. Sorry, forget about that. Right? The key is to catch it, to notice what it looks like in my body. For me, it's tension in the back of my neck and my shoulders. I start to get like this, literally start to hunch over and feel tension. And my heartbeat starts to race, and I feel a little bit of tingling in my stomach. That's what it feels like for me, and I know what that is. And so if given a cue, which, your cue sometimes now is just stop.
That's relatively new, although it seems to work really well.
Does, right? Given a cue, stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now, body scan. Yep. I am dysregulated. Okay. So this is where we get into, a lot of people say you need to stop and take a breath. Well, breath is important. It gives me the opportunity to reset, to reconnect, to really come back into my body, because I'm outside of it. I'm gone. And so for me, that stops. First, there's a scan of my body. Okay, I'm dysregulated. Now, can I disconnect from the story and the idea that's in the hamster wheel of the mind? What are my tools for doing that? I've got a whole set of different tools that we use with our clients, and that I use. One of mine is just getting present with what's physically here. How can I become present in this room? Forget about what I'm thinking, just what's here, what's really present, what's physically tangible that will get me back inside of my body. So we're looking at rewiring, and rewiring is incredibly helpful. And we can do practices that create greater emotional agility, give us the ability to do that more quickly. Some of the practices are just practicing actually that. It's, if you look at using our sports metaphor again, right? If we're looking at a great basketball player, if you look at Steph Curry, he's a great shooter because he shoots and 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 he shoots. It's muscle memory, right? Yeah, he's has amazing talent, but he has developed that talent by creating the muscle memory. He doesn't think about it when he does it. So there's a lot of practices that we can do to retrain ourselves in the way that we are going to respond in those moments and make it simpler. One of the things, emotional agility, is just being able to go back and forth between very angry and very happy. Training my body to understand that both are available almost simultaneously.
And on the emotional agility front, what I would also add to that is, of the two of us, I'm the one that used to get stuck for like a lot longer, like long time sometimes, in like the sadness or whatever. That's actually changed quite a lot over the time that we've been together. And even just the other day, we were at the person, we were seeing the person that we go to who holds us. And you and I started to get into it a little bit. And the conversation started to go off the rails. And then I think it was me, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was me who started to bring us back a bit more, just in that particular instance. It has often been you. In that particular instance, I think it was me. And we hadn't quite gotten things resolved yet. And then he stopped us and had a conversation. And he had just wanted to kind of observe us. And he's like, that's why I didn't, stop you sooner. Mm-hmm. But he said he was really actually surprised. And it reminded me how much work you and I have done around emotional agility. He was surprised that we did manage to turn it around, because it was starting to get quite heated. And then very fast, I made a decision. I came back into my heart. I'm like, no, we're talking from the head right now. I need to connect to the heart. And there's a practice that I teach women around that I practice all the time. And I reconnected to my heart, and I managed to shift things back on track.
Yeah, and I think to be clear about that, what you're really saying is I decided to go first, right? Which is I shifted me, and that created the space for us to shift.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's important for people to recognize. Is what I'm really saying is, did I regulate myself? Mm-hmm. Because again, both partners cannot be dysregulated at the same time. Nothing can happen. Absolutely nothing. But when one partner is dysregulated, the other partner can say, okay, I'm going to go first. I'm going to regulate myself. Then we have the opportunity to restart. Because two dysregulated partners yapping away at each other are getting nowhere. There's no point. We're just going to keep. Blah, 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 blah. This is where we find ourselves looping in relationships. Why are we in the same argument? Why have we been going on in this argument for 4 hours? Because we're not even in the argument. Our rational self can't show up to, our mature self cannot show up to actually find a solution, because our immature versions of ourselves that believe that we're mortally in danger are having a conversation. We might as well be out having coffee.
And this rewiring phase is so key, because you're not having relationship issues just because you have some communication difficulties. Mm-hmm. That seems to be the default response that every couple gives. It's like, well, what do you need? Mm-hmm. We just need to improve our communication.
Absolutely.
Like, I hear that from almost every single couple, and there's so much more underneath that. And yes, there are communication tools, absolutely, that can help and support and that we teach as well. And it goes a whole lot deeper than that, because you are not physiologically or mentally or emotionally capable of changing your communication until you start addressing this shit underneath the surface.
Yeah.